magnetic and real estate signs, contractor signs, and much more. Signworks can do large format, full color printing too. Signworks, a real professional in the business world. Call Signworks at 785-8899. Signworks, 850-785-8899.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. And a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
145 over 92.
180 over 111.
182 over 100. And I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest. And then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life.
A lot of people don't understand, including myself, I didn't, now I do, the impact of having a stroke.
My memory is shot.
When I woke up, I couldn't speak.
Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
It's a new life, but I'm going to make it better. Coming back. Ask your doctor, check your blood pressure.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
WGSX Lynn Haven, W Field, Q Port St. Joe. The Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you ready? Okay, let's begin.
Trip. The Afternoon Underdog Trip. Live and local. Inside the Talk House.
Unleash the dragon.
On the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida. Take ESPN Northwest Florida with you everywhere you go.
Anytime, anyplace, anywhere.
The sports talk and live play-by-play doesn't have to end when you get out of the car. The ESPN Northwest Florida app streams your favorite sports talk hosts and the biggest games in ultra-high fidelity.
This is of utmost importance in travel.
Take the sports talk monster with you anywhere you go. Available for Android and iPhone.
Use it anywhere or any place.
Take ESPN Northwest Florida with you everywhere you go.
Anytime, anyplace, anywhere.
The sports talk and live play-by-play doesn't have to end when you get out of the car. The ESPN Northwest Florida app streams your favorite sports talk hosts and the biggest games in ultra-high fidelity.
This is of utmost importance in travel.
Take the sports talk monster with you anywhere you go. Available for Android and iPhone.
Use it anywhere or any place.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 right here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, all at ESPN Northwest Florida. You can call or text at any point in time during the show this afternoon at 850-215-6290. Hopefully everyone out there is having a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. A little dreary setting of our weather this afternoon, but should be cold tomorrow, but it'll be nice and bright and sunny, and we'll get back to some flag football practice for Team Dynasty, so very excited about that. Went over and got a little coffee today at a place downtown. That was pretty interesting. Been a while since I've been to an actual coffee shop. I had a little meeting pertaining to some youth basketball over there at First Baptist Church, so that should be exciting. Looks like that'll be my first head coaching gig, but it's all about the kids, man. That's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to reaching out to Coach Guidus, and he's going to give me a little pointers on how the season, or on things that I should be doing to help set these kids up for their future.
When does that start?
Dealing with basketball. It's going to be January 16th, I believe. And the way that they set it up is they have their practice. You practice for 30 minutes before the game, and then you play the game. So it's like you get practice and your game you get to knock it all out in one night. So, and I'm sure that they're filled already to capacity. I believe you told me that they have 96 players throughout 3 different leagues, so there's no room for anyone else, but I'm excited. I am excited about taking on this opportunity here. Again, call or text us at 850-215-6290. We're going to be doing some winners and losers this afternoon, Caveman Rick, for college football and the NFL, and if you have any winners and losers, you can text them over to us at 850-215-6290. No AG, as we normally have Adam Goff with us on Wednesdays. Something came up for him, so we're not going to be able to find out about how he felt about his Louisville Cardinals falling to, what was it, Miller Moss? Is that his name? The quarterback for USC with, what, 5 touchdowns?
Moss. Yeah,
what a name, man. The double M there, M&M, Miller Moss. Yeah, M squared. Had himself a heck of a game, so we won't be able to find out.
That's his middle initials, M, then he can go M cubed.
Yeah, there you go. And what if he were to have one of those double middle names? Then I guess he's... What's M to the 4th power?
Oh, that's quattro. I don't know.
I think it's just. I think after cubed you go to the 4th power.
Yeah, I think that's just it.
Yeah, but I ain't no mathematician. You know who we need back on with us? Who is a mathematician of some sort, more dealing with the world of cybersecurity, but Sam Peebles, man.
Okay, right. I was going to say Max. He's good with numbers, though.
Max is great with numbers. There's no doubt about that. But with Sam, we get that insight into the Atlanta Braves, and I'm really interested to see how he feels about the Chris Sale trade. We haven't even brought it up here on the Afternoon Underdogs, but obviously the Boston Red Sox are getting Vaughn Grissom, the Atlanta Braves getting Chris Sale. A guy who's dealt with a lot of injuries. I don't think that Alex Anthopoulos is bringing him in to be any sort of ace by any stretch of the imagination. To me, it just seems like Max Fried. What was one of the issues that the Atlanta Braves had, not even just down the stretch, throughout the season, something that the Los Angeles Dodgers dealt with at length last year as well, and a lot of injuries to specifically that starting rotation. Exactly. So we'll see if he can add the depth, but to me, it just seems like one of those signings that's in name only.
I just don't know why you guys got rid of the youth, since you guys have like a real problem there. You don't have really much of a farm system, so having some young talent there, you would think you would like covet that a little bit more.
I like that. Now the good thing here is they didn't give up a ton. They gave up Vaughn Grissom, and I guess Alex Anthopoulos is happy with Orlando Arcia. I mean, we saw that in the middle of the year last year, right? Took a flyer on him, and then he's like, all right, we're going to extend you. Me as a Braves fan, the antics, and I'm huge on second chances, third chances, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I don't care. I'm big on that. With Orlando Arcia, though, we need that maturity in that position when things go a little awry. When they go awry, we need someone to step up and still. It's not even about how you play, but you got to stay in the game mentally. And so some of the antics that were happening against the Phillies in that series, those are things that we need to see Orlando Arcia grow from. And Ronald Acuna, who has been chastised in the past when it wasn't his team, when it was Freddie Freeman's team, and he says, hey, man, it ain't about those 5 letters on the back of your jersey. ACUNA. Yeah, it's not about the 5 letters on the back of your jersey. It's about the Braves across the front of the jersey. And so when you put that jersey on, you got to hustle. And so Ronald Acuna, when Orlando Arcia is doing that, he's stepping up and becoming that leader. And you love to see that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's a huge thing. If he wasn't being that guy and you lost a guy like Freddie Freeman in the clubhouse, you got to wonder what that team would look like too.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's been one of the things. Not only do you lose Freddie Freeman, right, and Ozzie at that point, and Ronnie at that point, still very young, and you don't. I mean, who's the head guy in the clubhouse? Then the next year it's Dansby, right, and then the next year you lose Dansby. So exactly, so they had to find that leader in the clubhouse, and of course you would love to assume that it's going to be Ronald Acuna Jr., but leadership is a quality that is invisible, and you either got, well, I'm not saying you either got it or you don't, because I do truthfully believe that you can learn to lead people, but yeah, that's one of those things. As a professional athlete, though,
some guys just don't gravitate that way. Look at like a KD, Kevin Durant. Like, he's a great player. If you expect him to show up on your team and be a great leader, you're just missing the point. I mean, he'll ball out for you, but he's definitely not going to be that outspoken kind of guy.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes to leaders, you have different types of leaders. You have the guys who just lead by action. They're not really saying a whole lot. They're just going out there and doing it. And there's other guys who gravitate to that type of work ethic. It's like, all right, well, he's just getting her done. He's saying it. He's not saying, hey, everybody, let's get here at 5:30 in the morning and hit the weights
Lead
or
by
whatever.
example.
He's just there. And then you have your other guys who are vocal leaders, and you know, they can get those inspiring speeches, and that is the beauty of the intricacy of the sports world. But take it outside of the world of sports, it doesn't matter. Anything that is in a team setting, you have to have your different levels. Everyone's got to have their role, their lane, so that you can make the interstate, if you will.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yes, sir. All right, so Thomas Gaitis did call me earlier, and he hit me with this little analogy, if you will. All right, so you've got an owner of a business, right, and that employer has 5 employees. Now, this is pertaining to the college football playoff, if you will. So this employer has 5 employees, and they're all beautiful ladies. Let's say that they're Victoria's Secret models, right? And the owner tells them, the employer tells the employees that if they work hard and don't miss a day of work at the end of the year, they're going to end up getting a bonus. So 3 of those girls have perfect attendance down the stretch. Perfect attendance. They worked hard. They didn't miss a day, but 2 of those girls ended up missing a day. But the owner decides, because they were prettier than the other girls, that because these 2 that had missed a day were prettier than some of the other girls, specifically one of those other girls, that one of those girls who did miss a day is going to miss out on the opportunity of the bonus, and they're going to give it to the 2 teams who did miss a day of work, just based on their prettiness. If you were the girl who missed out on this, might be a bad analogy putting us in the position of Victoria's Secret models here, but would you show up to work the next day?
I guess it depends on your situation. I mean,
right.
Like if you have to, because of just, you know, making money, having to take care of things, bills, kids, you know, whatever, because those bills keep coming in no matter what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, if you have, you know, I don't want to say integrity, but if you believe, you know, in like yourself and other people and how they should be and how they should act, the only way you're probably going to get that message through to them is maybe by leaving. And then if they, you know, miss you because of you being a good employee, just not the prettiest one there, that's a way of hurting them.
Yeah, I mean, when he put it to me like that, and I'm thinking, and again, I'm one of those ones who I'm trying to be very understanding of the whole situation, because, man, if I'm one of these players and, you know, I'm playing this game that doesn't really mean anything. It's different if that was the record that got you that game, right? That's where you deserve to be playing anyway, so you should be playing that game. But if you deserve to be in the college football playoff, I don't know. I think the right thing, of course, is playing. But when you use that analogy, and I'm now an employee, and someone doesn't do the prerequisites, and they still get favored over me, it would be time for me to find another employer.
It's a good analogy, but it's not perfect, because the money,
it's anything.
Well, it's murky. Having a job like that and having parameters set out to one thing, the college football committee doesn't do that. They don't have a list of guidelines. You know, one year it seems like, hey, it's like your schedule and like, you know, who you played. The other one, it's like, you know, your wins. they're using whatever excuse they can year to year to satisfy their needs and their wants, and making the playoff being what they are. So, like I said, that's not necessarily, I think, the greatest analogy in a lot of ways, because if they did have the guidelines set,
the analogy is,
if you did win your Power 5, you were guaranteed a spot in, then they'd be in.
Yeah, I mean, well, you would think that that's the way.
The problem is people are implying that too much. That's what, normally should be happening. If you win that, you should be in. And that is pretty much the way it probably should be. But unfortunately, like I said, there is no rules. There's no guidelines set up. So you're just...
I get that, and I don't think that he's trying to bring up the comparison to the college football, or of course it's compared to the college football playoff committee. I guess what I'm getting at here is it's showing, all right, if you were one of these employees, though, like, can you, I think that is showing, how can you not understand what these players are doing? You see what I'm saying? It's like, because right, and that's what he was getting at. Is like, it makes sense for him. Like he says, if I'm a Victoria's Secret model, I'm finding another job, and that's not going to be hard. I'll just take the day off, because it is one of those situations. Now, is that what what we were talking about yesterday? All of this is not an indictment on Florida State and the program that they are, but where we are as a society and what we let people get away with and what's acceptable and all of those things. So it's a very tough position to be in, but I did like that analogy, and it does make me understand a little bit more, or I guess I could be a little bit easier on some of the players, even though it's still to me, and maybe it's just because I want these bowl games. Maybe it's because I want these bowl games to mean something again, and even if it's just me watching it and getting that feeling back, but maybe that's just gone. Maybe that's a thing of the past, and maybe now only 6 of the games are really going to matter.
Yeah, I think part of the problem goes back to back in the day, it wasn't about individuality so much. It was all about the team. It was about commitment. You sign on the dotted line, you're going to this school, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, it's like you said, acceptable though for people to think of themselves, think of their own personal situations instead of thinking about the greater, I won't say the greater good, but the bigger picture, your whole team or whatever. And that gets, put on the back burner. And like you said, it's society now deeming it acceptable, but a while back it wasn't. You got more or less shamed for doing things like that. I mean, nowadays, look at in basketball right now, we're still crushing people for load management, where guys like Jordan, it was like a badge of honor to play 82 games in a season. You wanted to do that, so you could say, look, I was there. It's like how you talked about the girls situation. You show up and you work hard every day. You don't miss a day. There's a reward there.
Yeah. And I mean, but look at steps like the NBA, right? They essentially had players with the whole load management and everything, right? They were encouraging load management from their star players.
If Pop didn't win though with the Spurs, I think it would have got scrubbed and nobody would have followed it. But they had a lot of success, so everybody's copycat league.
Exactly, fair enough. But what I'm saying is that the league, these teams were encouraging their star players to sit out on the second half of back-to-backs and all of that stuff. And now here they are, 5-10 years later, and are reverting course on all of that and realizing, no, we need our players to be playing. We need our guys to be playing in at least 65 of the 82 games.
The problem is the tickets are already sold way early on, and then later on, since there's money already exchanged, they have those seats sold. It's not a big deal to them. But if it was something that was more relevant, like day to day, week to week, you didn't have those sales, then it would be more important to have those players play, because you might not get that revenue later on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, man, lots to be figured out. One of the things, again, man, I'm still not, it doesn't matter how I feel about it, and I understand from the scholastic side of things, but I'm just not happy about that these guys can transfer out before the season is over. I know that the bowl season is postseason, and these coaches have enough going on as it is. I just wish that, one of the prime examples for me is Missouri, Ohio State. Kyle McCord should have been playing in that game. Now, who knows if he gets injured and all of that stuff. Obviously, Syracuse wasn't like that, but I wish that we were getting strength on strength in these games, and it wasn't just, we're talking about New Year's Six Bowls.
Right.
A New Year's Six Bowl doesn't matter?
They have to be enrolled in those classes.
No, I know that. I know that.
They need to figure that stuff out with like the other schools.
Okay, here's how you figure it out. You cannot transfer until the spring semester's over.
That'd be fine. That is what they should do, you know. But of course, you know, nobody wants to do that because these coaches want to get their guys in sooner. So
exactly. Be there for the spring game.
System and all blah blah blah. Something's got to give there. And I mean, these guys are getting paid now, so it's not like a student athlete anymore. You know, like the word, you know, or the phrase we used to use. So I mean, it's like they're getting paid. So if they can do that, then why not have them? If they have to deal with any ill effects of going into the transfer portal, then that's on them. Nobody's making them do it.
Right State Chris says a proper analogy would be if the boss never explicitly said what the parameters were, but you needed to meet them to get the bonus, like what you were saying earlier. There is which is sad though, because that's what's sad about it. That's what's so sad about it is because of the fact they went undefeated. Like all of the parameters without being said were answered, right? The only thing was, oh, you don't got your quarterback. Okay, now you're down to your third string quarterback and you can barely move the ball. Okay, look at what the quarterback for Alabama did in the actual game, the actual result. You know what I mean?
Like, look at some defenses. I mean, teams like the Baltimore Ravens, 85 Bears, man, they scored tons of points, you know, for the defense, and the offense wasn't able to move the ball, so you can still technically win a game based off your defense. You
absolutely can. Now we're chiming back and forth here in the Facebook comments, which you can go to Facebook, go to ESPN Northwest Florida and comment along with the rest of our listeners. Right State Chris, Thomas Guide is responding to Right State Chris says, I guess assuming a Power 5 goes undefeated, they are in the wrong because it's what we've always been told. Just like that boss said, don't miss a day and you get in. Can't hold employees to integrity when the boss doesn't have any. I know that you can assimilate with that.
Right. Well, that's why I was making that point, being like that analogy is not the greatest just because of that. And like I said, I mean, you got to have the parameters, rules, guidelines, whatever you want to call it. You have to have that set. If you have that and it's being followed year to year, then there is no arguments there.
And that's something that they need to sort out heading into this. I know they don't want to because it gives
to get them out.
And it gives them a wide open box of a wide open opportunity for entertainment purposes.
It gives them a lot of latitude on what they want to do, like and how they want to go with different stuff, depending on the year, the season, whatever.
Yeah, and again, because I don't like it, doesn't change anything, right? They're going to do exactly what it is that they want to do, but I think there should be parameters. Like, all right, now we're losing the Pac-12, so they cannot get an automatic bid in, right?
You would think that, but they haven't set no guidelines. So if you're just if you're just going to imply that, you're going to be just as wrong as, like, say, FSU thinking they should be in.
Well, but FSU has a very valid argument.
But again, you're implying certain things that haven't been set. So that's the reason why.
They should be set.
You would think a Pac-2 team shouldn't be able to get in.
No.
But hey, if they decide they want them in, what are you going to do?
I'm a guy who loves upsets, and I don't think a G5 team. I'm reverting course on that. I don't think that a G5 team on a consistent basis belongs. Like, you need to have 2 P5 wins. If you're a G5 team, you need to have 2 Power 5 teams on your schedule, and they need to be wins, because obviously you need to be undefeated or be the best G5 team. But you see what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that the Power 5 teams got to be the Alabama, Georgias of the world. It can be the Virginia Techs. It can be even the Vanderbilts. But you need to have those wins on your schedule. Very hard to make that happen. I get it. I just think that with 131 FBS teams, something's got to give here. There needs to be made a new division. I hate it, but it's a fact here. We've got 131 teams competing for one championship. Where else? Name another sport like that. I mean, yeah.
And it's like everything else is evolving. The money, the college football playoff, adding teams. The problem is they're not evolving the structure or the way they got it set up. Like, they're still looking at the college football, like, at the end, the top couple of teams, the way they were looking at it 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, you need to, like, update your thinking. You need to kind of catch up with the times, see where we're at now, just like our politics and stuff go. You have to, move with the changing times. And the way they got stuff right now, it's not allowing that old school way of thinking to figure out which teams belong there.
And what's a good way to do that? set some parameters. Let us know the guidelines. I mean, what if I had a youth football league out here? It was
they
like,
don't need a committee. They need like a Zara football, or like, maybe a couple people that are just in charge that make all the rules, that rule all the decisions, and just have it them. Because then it's a lot easier if you only have a couple people that have to be answered to, or have to answer to us, instead of like 13 different people or 12 or 30 people, and they change every year.
So let's go like this. Let's drop it down. Let's go from 13 to 5. All right. So you've got a representative of each conference. All right, the Pac-12's not counting here because you're the Pac-2. So you've got a Big 10 guy, a Big 12 guy, an ACC guy, and an SEC guy, and then you have the fifth guy is your czar,
dude, or like that guy,
your czar, or whatever. Like, yeah, your overall. Like, if we've got a vote here that's 2-2, my vote is going to be the final vote, and that's going to be the tiebreaker from all of this. I do agree with that. I think that there could be someone like that out there, but they can't. Like you said, one of the important things is you can't have an allegiance to one of these conferences. So where are we going to find someone like
bring
that?
Somebody from another sport. There's been times before where commissioners will come in from another sport,
like cricket.
Yeah, just knowing how to run a sport, and then that way you have no ties, you have no allegiance, you have no bias.
Yeah, we just need to get someone from FIFA. Yeah. They'll fit right in. They'll fit right in. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're taking your calls and texts at 850-215-6290. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Wednesday afternoon. The rest of the day, sprinkles and 52 with a blustery wind at 15 miles per hour out of the east-northeast. For tonight, light rain and some clouds and a low near 40. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high around 58. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
This 53-man roster is stupid.
Where it's halftime all the time.
Raise the rosters, you cheapskate owners, and get that done now.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
$5 a pop. It's cheaper than Uber. You can send that to my Venmo.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on? You are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. It's funny that Caveman Rick is playing this particular tune because when I realized AG wasn't going to be coming in this afternoon, I made a few calls and I was going to have Andrew Weiss on the line. That song was Metallica's Ride the Lightning, and we were going to be talking a little NHL today, but Andrew didn't have much time. So instead, we're going to go over to the phone lines anyways. We've got Ian on the line with us. Ian, what's going on, my friend? Happy New Year to you.
Hey, Happy New Year to you too, fellas. Glad to hear you boys. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing okay. I kind of in tailing on to your conversation there about kind of the state of college football. First off, I won't go into the Florida State snub. I'm pretty sure anybody who knows me, follows me on social media, knows exactly how I felt about that. And that's been litigated to death. Your conversation that you were having about the kind of where college football needs to go, and this is just my 2 cents. This is what, Ian would do if he was in charge of college football. First off, I think Caveman was absolutely spot on when he said you need a czar of college football. You need that guy who is imbued with the power to be able to make decisions that is in the interest of what's good for the sport. And the networks can't interfere with him. Nobody can do that. He has that power to be able to make those decisions. And you get the corporate suits kind of out of the room at that point. But what I would love to see, honestly, at this point, and I know this sounds like sacrilege to a lot of old schoolers like me, but let's face it, old school college football is dead and buried. And it was dead and buried a long time ago. What I would love to see is us get rid of all the conferences and take your top 80 college FBS programs, divide them into 2 leagues, 40 apiece, your A league and your B league, north, south, east, west divisions in each league. And you play your season, and that makes for your regional rivalries. It gives you kind of the best of what we all love about college football. You've still got Georgia, Alabama. You've still got Florida State, Florida, Michigan, Ohio State. All of that is allowed for that. And you play your season, 12, 14 games, whatever you decide. You have your playoff, you crown your champion. And then the bottom team in every division at the end of every year gets relegated down to the B League, and you move up your top 4 leagues from the B League into the A League, and they have their shot to be able to go make a run at the big championship. And that's how you pacify everybody. And it requires all of us to be working off of the same television deals, getting the same television revenue with the same template or whatever you want to use to be able to pay your players. I mean, it's basically the NFL light formula with a splash of soccer. But I think that's what you do.
I would be all for a form of relegation if you could get both of the leagues to agree on it, right? So your G5 schools essentially agree to be able. Well,
the G5 schools would definitely agree. Exactly. The Power Fives might say, right. No, that's gonna cause a couple us not to make it.
Yeah, it would be the lower Power 5 schools that would have an issue with that. And then how about this, Ian? So you got your czar of college football, which I think we could all agree, right? Let's just have, and this is harder for the Bama fans, but let's just have Nick Saban retire and become the czar of college football.
No.
Okay. I'm just saying, all right, so Nick Saban's the czar of college football, but then here's how you can, with the networks, right? And this would never happen. But if you could get it to happen, I mean, I feel like it happens in the NFL. Take the Big Ten, pair them with CBS. Take the ACC, pair them with NBC. Take the SEC, pair them with ESPN, and take the Big 12 and pair them with Fox. Now, all of that money is still divided between all schools. You see what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I'm right there with you until they get to a foundation that looks more similar to the NFL, and what happens on the field matters more than what the eyes show you or what the eyes tell you. I think that we could be in for some even more troubling years with the 12-team college football playoff.
Well, yeah, I mean, your 12-team playoff is still going to have the same problems that you have with the 4, which is where my cynicism is going to come into play. If you're a 2-loss ACC team, and let's say you're Virginia Tech and you made it all the way to the ACC championship, quarterback gets hurt, you lose, you finish the season 10-2, and there's a 10-2 LSU team that didn't even make it to the SEC title game. Who do you think they're going to give that 12th spot to for the playoff?
Yeah.
And I won't even pick on ESPN. I'll shift gears over to Fox. So say you got a 10-2 Iowa team with absolutely no offense whatsoever. Fox is saying, listen, we're the ones paying the big check for TV.
Yeah.
Our team is going into the playoff. That's how this is going to happen. And they'll finagle that with the committee just like Greg Sankey did. And, they'll politic and they'll do what they got to do. And that's what's going to happen. So, you're going to have your...
Don't be mad at Greg because his negotiating tactics are better than Boo Corrigan's.
Oh, sure. Greg Sankey knows exactly who he works for, man. I wish we had him in the ACC. He would have been walking around saying some things. Our freaking commissioner was MIA. He was somewhere in a closet writing a fax. Maybe some poetry.
Some poetry.
I got no time for Jim Phillips or the ACC, but that's another call for another day. But that's what I'd like to see at this point. Let's just blow the whole thing up. And if we could go to some sort of a 2-tier system like that, now your Tulanes and your Cincinnati's and your Memphis, you have something to play for. You don't have to stay in the lower tier. Go win your games, and you will have your opportunity to come play. And the networks can't have a problem with that because, again, if you've given the power to a czar of college football to do what's best for the game, he's the one who's ultimately going to make that call.
Yeah,
and if he can't, then he has no power.
Dude, I know that I threw Nick Saban out there, and that was more jokingly than anything. Is there anyone out there that just comes to mind when you think of a czar of college football, someone who won't let the media outlets affect him with the pocketbook?
I think he needs somebody that really knows sports business and not just, on the field stuff. You look at a guy like an Oliver Luck who's been around, sports business and the game of football for a long time. He was brought in to run the XFL. People that have a long-standing career in the boardroom for the game as much as on the field.
Yeah.
You need somebody who has that savvy because he's going to be right there running point for a lot of those big money deals that then affect everybody on the field. To negotiate your television rights deals and all that kind of stuff. You need somebody who has that level of administrative savvy as much as a love of the game. That's the problem I've got with NASCAR right now is you've got a bunch of people who are running that sport who don't know anything about what's happening on the track.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, particularly in the marketing department, didn't grow up NASCAR fans. They came from the NBA. They came from, PGA, whatever, and they don't know the culture. They don't know racing. But yet they were brought in because they know the dollars and cents, and that's not good enough. You need somebody who knows both.
Yeah.
I don't know who that would be, but that's a big dollar position, and you need somebody good.
I'm sure there was a lot of people that would apply if that job came open.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
They have a lot of resumes to go through.
I know someone, Ian and the rest of Florida State fans would just put right up to the top. How about Kirk Herbstreit?
No, sure. Yeah, right up there. Right up there. Right up there. Him and Joe Biden. Absolutely. Two guys who are perfectly qualified to manage to be the czar of college football. Transfer portal.
Maybe Kirk could get his dog. What's his dog's name? Benji or whatever.
Yes, his emotional support dog.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Boy, both those guys have taken him and his dog have taken all kinds of hell on social media from FSU Twitter, but it's been a blast to watch.
It has been, man, and they got to know these things. I mean, that you put yourself in the eye of the public, in the public eye. Those things are going to come, especially when you've got fan bases that we're fanatics for a reason, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's one thing to have your opinion and get drilled for it by fans, by a-hole fans.
Yeah.
That's one thing. It's frankly when you get caught carrying water for the people who sign your checks. Which, listen, man, I don't think there's any doubt that's what Herbstreit got caught doing. And a lot of us who have never, there's a lot of fans out there, particularly in Seminole Nation, who we didn't always love what Kirk Herbstreit had to say. We didn't always agree with him. But the thought was, you know what, the guy loves college football, and we love college football, and so we're going to agree to disagree, but we all love the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I think, what all of this brought into question was just how genuine that is. He's just another shill for the committee, and that's that. He said what he had to say. They gave him the script, and he followed his points. So good on him. He got paid.
I got an
idea. He'll get another contract.
What about a guy like a Dana White? See what he's done for the UFC and, all the money they're making, a league that kind of came from nowhere. And is making a lot of big strides out there. And, obviously, in his league, too, you don't get to pick who you're fighting. You don't get, they're calling it. They're saying you're playing this guy. You know what I'm saying? He comes from a background like that, and maybe that's what it needs.
That's a good point. I'll nominate Rob Moriarty then.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, give us a call. You hear him, Tim? If you're out there, Tim, get Rob to give us a call.
There you go.
All right, fellas. Well, I appreciate it as always.
Hey, one quick thing, Ian. You brought up NASCAR, so I had to bring it up. Have you heard that PRN and MRN are going to be kind of underneath the same umbrella moving forward now?
I had not heard that. I'll be honest with you, man. I still love racing, but these days anymore, man, I'm watching the Cars Tour on Flow Racing and some of more of the grassroots stuff that just looks a bit more like the NASCAR I fell in love with.
Yeah.
Because what's happening today, I don't like the new car. I don't like the product on the track. NASCAR fans love super speedways and short tracks, and this car sucks on both of them. But, they got their street race, which we also don't want.
Yeah.
So, again, they're doing what they think they have to do in order to grow that sport for future generations. I think they're heading in the wrong direction. I think it's gonna crash and burn. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But they're the ones who have the checkbooks and all the money at stake, and not me. And so, I may dial in for Daytona, maybe just kind of see what happens. But from top to bottom, it's just not a sport I really enjoy watching anymore. I mean, to me, NASCAR has gone so far, away from what made them great. It'd be like if some network suit walked into, Roger Goodell's office and say, you know what we need to do? We need to, all this weather is causing us problems. We should cut the field in half and play it in arenas, and then we would never have that problem. Well, Roger Goodell is smart enough, contrary to what some believe, to be able to say, no, that's not NFL football, that's arena football. They already have that. Mm-hmm. NASCAR's like, sounds like a great idea. Let's do it.
All right, F1.
You already have Formula One. You already have IndyCar. That's not what you do, guys. And you can't put out a product that's anywhere near that level of quality. But, you go watch Drive to Survive, and you hope those kids will latch on to your sport. I don't think it's going to happen. We'll see. I mean, if they fire everybody because television ratings are in the tank and everything in a couple of years, then, we'll see. But I'm kind of out on NASCAR. It's just not, the politics, everything else notwithstanding, just the track, the on-track product is just not what I want to watch anymore. And so I go find other things like Reacher on Amazon or something else to occupy my time.
Yes, sir. Ian, thank you so much for the call.
All right, boys. Y'all have a good show.
You as well. Man, that's got me thinking now, right? All right. What's been one of the subjects surrounding the sport of basketball? Even now, diving into college basketball, men's college basketball, women's college basketball is well on the uprise, but men's college basketball, NBA, suffering ratings-wise. I know it's harder for me to get into it, and if it's hard for me to get into it, that is not good because it's always been so easy for me to watch sports. Football, what's the conversation dominating? Not necessarily the college football playoff committee and stuff like that, but more or less with the egregious officiating and all of that, right? I mean, are sports in trouble?
I hope not. But you do have to question that. A lot of stuff's changed in the last handful of years. All the betting's out there now. You have, like we talked about, the load management already in some sports. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's not the norm and not what the world in sports has just been used to.
And what pains me about that is if I asked you that question 3-4 years ago, you said no. No, sports are not in trouble. Sports are in a great area. The fact that we have to say, I hope not, and that's my answer as well. I hope that sports aren't in trouble. I think youth-wise, they're in a good position. Kids are playing them at, I don't know what the statistics are, but, they're still popular as ever as far as kids playing them. So hopefully we continue on. I do think that sports bring a lot of good to our society as well.
Before, sports wasn't changing as much and as fast as it is now.
Yeah.
And then when there was a change, it would give the youth and stuff time to catch up. And then when there's another change, by the time that change happened, that youth had already kind of caught up and everybody was kind of up to speed on all the levels. Mm-hmm. Now you have a change happening, nobody's catching up, and another change happening when you're getting halfway to catching up, and now you got to reset the clock and try to redo stuff. And I think that's what's hurting it too.
Yeah. And a lot more year round of the same sport rather than being immersed in different sports and not getting, it is so wild. We say this all the time. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So too much of anything is a bad thing. So if that's the case, then if you're playing baseball 24/7, it might not be the greatest thing. But then here's the other flip side of that. I can sit here and say that, but if that young man is working on his craft 24/7 and he turns that into a $27 million check and lives happily ever after or whatever, then
or $700 million contract.
Yeah, exactly. And most of that being deferred for a while. Yamamoto's got a little opt-out deal in dealing with his elbow. I haven't looked into that, but that's not a great signal for them. Again, man, a lot of I think that we're moving into a wave of Major League Baseball right now where it's almost like what we're seeing in the NFL and quarterbacks, right? Where the young guys are doing a really good job for the most part. I think we're going to start seeing that in rotations where it's going to be about your young hosses because after a while, we're starting to see injuries are catching up with guys faster and faster and faster and faster. So it is a lot of this is on the young arms of baseball.
I think youth would have already been that way years ago, but there just wasn't the desire by the older heads in the games to start the younger players.
The older guys still had longevity, though, whereas they just don't these days.
Well, again, the way the rules have changed, you have, I hate to say it, less practicing and less hitting in football is causing more injury. When those guys were hitting all the time, they were tough as cement, man. And, nowadays, these guys are soft as pillows.
That they are. Well, I wouldn't say that to their face because I know they're probably a little bit harder
Well, yeah,
than me,
but then again, look at the size of these guys compared to me. But now you take that same guy and put him up against a guy the same size as him, starts getting a little soft then.
Yeah, there you go.
It's easy to talk down to somebody like us, though, when you're like those, NFL players that can, squat 700 pounds like a Jalen Hurts. I mean, he wouldn't do anything. He's about our size.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I mean, there's a difference there.
Yeah, man. Bart, a guy that I go to First Baptist with, Bart was telling me about, he played football over here at Bay High, I think underneath Coach Manley. But he was telling me about a guy that he played against in high school, Lomax. Can't remember him, but Lomax. And he said in high school.
Bernie Lomax?
Maybe.
No, that's Weekend at Bernie's Bernie Lomax.
Yeah, no. Don't be tricking me with movie references and stuff. I ain't good at that. But no, anyways, he was in high school. He was squatting. He either said 600 or 800 pounds. I'm like, goodness gracious, dude! I could squat. I could squat every day for 30 days, and my combined weight probably. Yeah, exactly. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. If you want to call and talk with us, give us a holler. 850-215-6290.
The next evolution in sports talk radio. We're back! On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Hi.
The only live afternoon show in Panama City where you can win fantastic prizes from amazing local businesses every day.
That's right.
4 to 6 weekdays. The Afternoon Underdogs.
It's mayhem.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Wednesday afternoon. The rest of the day, sprinkles and 52 with a blustery wind at 15 miles per hour out of the east-northeast. For tonight, light rain and some clouds and a low near 40. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high around 58. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hi, I'm Tracy, your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Shopping for the perfect diamond can be difficult, but that's why I've trained my staff to be helpful and to offer you a stress-free diamond experience. Pick your sparkle and use our easy layaway plan. Every woman deserves an exquisite diamond from your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We don't work on commissions.
We work for smiles and I-dos.
So if you're tired of high-pressure salespeople, stop by and see us today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents
the College Football National Championship.
Touchdown, Michigan!
It's Michigan versus Washington. Monday, January 8th.
Absolute thrilling finish.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Pro gun, pro flag, and pro Keisha.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're in the doghouse, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Professor Plum texting in saying, welcome back and Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year to you, Professor Plum, and to the rest of our listeners here in our listening area. And if you're following along with us on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, we dearly appreciate it. And if you have any topics of conversation that you'd like us to try to dive into, you can text those over to us at 850-215-6290, or you can hop on the line. Just give Caveman Rick a call right now on his personal cell phone at 850-215-6290. He'll punch you through the line, and then we can talk some football, baseball, basketball. I mean, if anybody wants to get me updated on the NBA, because it's just not time for me yet. I do know that the Bucks and the Pacers have a big one tonight, and that rivalry has kind of been budding, especially since Giannis's last game where he didn't get the ball. So that should be interesting tonight.
Crazy that it seemed like the Timberwolves are doing so dang good.
Yeah, and then the Thunders beat the top ranked Celtic, or top ranked. I'm stuck in college football right now. Yeah, the top team in the league in the Boston Celtics right now. Lightning still kind of up and down every other game, so not really, still not quite time. I'm watching about one hockey game a week right now.
My Flyers are actually doing great right now, and I don't want to watch them because I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah. So who are y'all's hockey teams? Give your hockey and your baseball and your basketball teams. I want to learn a little bit more about our listeners. You can text those over again in that same number, 850-215-6290. Caveman Rick will be in with us this Friday. So will Kyle Wright. So will Kurt Harrison, who was one of our he's a listener, and he played fantasy football with us. He was at the draft, and he says this is going to be like a dream day come true for him, because a lot of the people that we get in here have always had dreams, or just like they listen and they'd love to take a part of that, and that's something I want to bring back this year. And if we can do it for all 52 weeks, or for every Friday that we have a show, if you've ever been interested in doing sports radio, this isn't a tryout, this isn't maybe we'll get you a job, anything like that. This is just, if you want to come and spend a Friday afternoon with the Afternoon Underdogs, we'll make that happen, man. I love talking sports with everyone. I would not even be in this position without everyone listening and being interacting with us and all of that stuff. And more importantly, I mean, first and foremost, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Secondly, outside of that, how about this crew that comes in and helps this station on a day-to-day basis for the Afternoon Underdogs? A lot of you guys don't see all of the moving parts and everything, but I'm so thankful, because normally you're going to have the same set of guys, and the way that you go through your show prep is going to be a little bit more traditional, whereas we've got a lot of moving parts, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm very thankful for all of you who have helped out with the Afternoon Underdogs, and maybe I might even say even more so to the listeners who put up with our shenanigans.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the variety helps out a lot too. Got a lot of different ideas, a lot of different thoughts coming into it. So you got a lot of different perspectives and whatnot too on all the topics that we talk about. And then, like, I don't know if Dave hadn't touched on it like today, but we have before. I mean, if we're not talking about something that you want to talk about, you give us a call and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. 850-215-6290. And we've got our trivia today. We didn't do it yesterday, but our traffic jamming trivia, and that's going to be your opportunity to win $25 to not the but that boot store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. A little bit of insight here with these that boot store gift cards, or gift certificates rather. When you get them from us, you've got 30 days to use that particular one from when you get it, and I've got to start writing those on the gift cards. I'm just letting our listeners know, if you do receive a that boot store gift certificate from us, that you got to use that within 30 days. We've had a couple of issues with people kind of saving them up, and then by the time they're walking out the door at that boot store, they're only spending $3, and so that's one of those things. You got 30 days to use it. So if you'd like to go check out that boot store and win $25 to that boot store from here, what team was Ohio State playing? This is an easy one. What team was Ohio State playing in the Gator Bowl when Coach Woody Hayes infamously punched an opposing player on December 29th in 1978? And I believe I showed you the replay of this. Not too long ago, I showed someone the replay of this, because I was like, dude, I was explaining the situation to him. I was like, it's actually on video.
Which was hard to capture way back when, I think.
Exactly. What team was Ohio State playing in the Gator Bowl when Coach Woody Hayes infamously punched an opposing player December 29th, 1978? 850-215-6290. That is going to be for your opportunity to win $25 to not the but that boot store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. On this day in sports history, way back over 100 years ago in 1920, the Boston Red Sox baseball club owner Harry Frazee announces an agreement to sell the slugger Babe Ruth to the Yankees for $125,000 in cash and then a loan of $350,000. So back here in 1920, about $500,000. And that was the start of the 84-year Curse of the Bambino. In 1943, Max and Doug Bentley assist on their brother Reg's only NHL goal in Chicago Blackhawks 3-3 tie with the Rangers up there in New York City. It was the only time in NHL history that a trio of family members scored and assisted on a scoring play. In 1973, a 12-man syndicate led by Michael Burke and George Steinbrenner III buys MLB's New York Yankees from CBS for $10 million U.S. dollars. Let's go over to Scott. We'll play a little trivia. Scott, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What team was Ohio State playing in the Gator Bowl when Coach...
Okay, I'm a Michigan fan, so I don't think it was Michigan, but I know that year Woody Hayes coached his last game and punched a Michigan player. So I'm going with Michigan, but I don't think it's right.
And that is not right, Scott. That is not the correct answer, but it was a very good guess. Thank you so much for calling, man. And what's the final score? Give me a score prediction for Michigan and Washington.
34-31.
34-31, man. I am so
Michigan.
As an Alabama fan, I am really excited about this game, man. I think it's going to be one of the better championships that we've had in a while.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir, Scott.
Happy New Year, Dave.
Hey, happy New Year to you as well, Scott. We appreciate you listening, and we appreciate the call as we'll move along here with our On This Day. And again, if you would like to win $25 to Not Thee But That Boot Store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, you can call now and tell me what team was Ohio State playing in the Gator Bowl when Coach Woody Hayes, infamously punched an opposing player back in December 29th, 1978. In 1983, Dallas running back Tony Dorsett set the NFL record with a 99-yard run in the Cowboys' 31-27 defeat at Professor Plum's Minnesota Vikings, and Terry Lamb's Minnesota Vikings, which would later be tied by my guy Derrick Henry. In 1991, Wayne Gretzky becomes the fastest and the youngest player in NHL history to score 700 goals. It took him 886 games at the age of 29 years and 342 days, and that was in a 6-3 win for the LA Kings over the Islanders at the Nassau Veteran Memorial Coliseum. We'll take a break from On This Day. We'll go over to Nick. Nick, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What team was Ohio State playing in the Gator Bowl when Coach Woody Hayes infamously punched an opposing player December 29th, 1978?
Well, this is actually Travis.
Oh, this is Travis. Travis, all right. Well, you are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. And what team was it?
It is Clemson.
It was Clemson, and there was just 2 minutes left in the game. Ohio State was losing 17-15, and Art Schlitter threw a pass that was intercepted by Charlie Bowman, who was then tackled on the Ohio State sideline. And when he got up, Hayes punched him right in the neck. Travis, thanks so much for the call. You did just win $25 to Not Thee But That Boot Store. Do me a favor and hang on the line, and I need to see you before the end of this week, and you know what I mean, right?
Yes, I got you.
All right, sounds good. Hang on the line for Caveman Rick, all right?
Alrighty.
All right, winner. I feel bad for Nick there, though. I thought we had him on the line, but we'll get him on another time. Nick, if you do want to hang on the line, you can, and we'll get you on the air, but it will not be to win any trivia this day. In 1993, the comeback quarterback Frank Reich led the Buffalo Bills back from a 32-point deficit. They beat the Houston Oilers 41-38 in an overtime in a wild card playoff game, and that was the greatest comeback in NFL history, I believe, until the Vikings came back over the Colts not too long ago. So Kirk Cousins with that big win. 1994, Steve Young with the San Francisco 49ers becomes the first quarterback to win 3 straight NFL passing titles despite a 37-34 overtime loss to the Eagles. He was the first to lodge 3 consecutive passer ratings of 100 plus. Steve Young, man, kind of one of those guys who gets lost in the sauce of that. He didn't get lost in the sauce. It's just now with Joe Montana and everything else that the 49ers are doing. Sometimes when I think back on Steve Young, I'm like, man, he was one of the more fun quarterbacks to watch in my childhood. I don't know how you felt about that as an Eagles fan, but I really did thoroughly enjoy watching Steve Young play ball.
Yeah, he was a fun quarterback to watch. Just being an Eagles fan, wasn't too worried about him back then when he was playing just because we weren't that great. The Cowboys, though, that's a team that might not have liked Steve Young a little bit because he was the one that, took him out of the playoffs a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, definitely good quarterback, left-handed, mobile, fun to watch.
All right, move right along here to 2001 and the third BCS National Championship. I'm not trying to add insult to injury because it's not. I just never knew the score of this game, and I was like, was this game a forfeit or something? Anyway, so I'm talking about in Pro Player Stadium, number 1 Oklahoma taking down number 2 Florida State 13-2 at the 67th Orange Bowl, and I just don't remember that game at all. I think that was Jason White with Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken, at that point in time, but I don't know that because I remember watching the game. I know that from just looking at Heisman stuff and whatnot. So, I do not remember a 13-2 national championship, and I'm not poking fun by any means. I mean, it is a little bit funny that that there was only 2 points scored, and what is that by way of? Obviously, a safety. But I'm not poking fun because I would be the last person who could poke fun with a 16 or 17 point loss in the national championship to Clemson. So I'm definitely not poking fun. I was just like, oh my gosh, only 2 points? That's wild.
Yeah, with no defense too. Coming out of the Big 10 or Big 12, I should say. It's kind of crazy, to see a score like that, you would think.
2007. This one's what you got?
I was going to say, tell Travis to call back if you need him to call back. I mean, I got his name and we got his number, but I think
we'll be fine. Right. Yeah, we'll be fine. 2007, Miami Dolphins NFL head coach Nick Saban resigns after agreeing to return to college football and take the head coaching job at Alabama. Can I get a roll tide? In 2010, I added this one in a little facetiously. Phil Taylor successfully defends his PDC World Darts title with a 7-3 victory over Simon Whitlock of Australia in the final in London. Taylor's 13th PDC and 15th overall World Championship. I've actually watched darts a couple times on TV. Pretty interesting stuff. More fun to play than it is to watch, but yeah.
Did an ESPN air and it was pretty I don't want to say aggressive, but man, they get into it. The announcing, everything, and of course, it's over in England. A lot of that stuff, so a lot of brew, a lot of drinking going on, man.
Oh yeah. Hey, look, a triple 20! Oh my gosh.
Gotta love it though, man. But like I said, they get into it, man. If you want to see some really. I don't know how to describe it though, man. It's really intense for eclectic. Dude just walking up, throwing some darts, They really just they have walkout music and stuff like they're a boxer or a wrestler. It's pretty cool. It's a spectacle.
I like that, man. 2016, Jimmy Butler breaks Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls record for points in an NBA half. He scored 40 of his 42 points in the second half to lead the Bulls to a 115-113 victory over the Raptors. And in 2023, Cristiano Ronaldo joins the Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr for the biggest salary ever in football, leaving Manchester United after criticizing it publicly, that is your favorite soccer player of all time.
Well, yeah, I'm Portuguese. He's Portuguese too, so gotta love him, man. He's really good. The last little bit of his career, though, is kind of a head scratcher. He's been kind of acting like an idiot a little bit. But again, when you have that much fame, that much money, that much clout, everywhere you go, people are throwing you rose petals and kissing your rear end. I guess you get out of touch.
Very well could be. We'll see if he gets back in touch and maybe makes it over to the MLS to line up against Lionel Messi.
I don't think he will. I don't think he's that kind of guy, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he'd be
he'd rather go play with the Saudis for more money in a subpar league.
It would be slumming it, I think. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see Ronaldo doing it. I hate to say it, but I don't see it.
Yeah. We'll see how it all plays out, though. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We went a little bit over, but we'll be right back with hour number 2, talking some winners and losers of NFL and college football.
ESPN Northwest Florida has the real local fishing report. Hi, this is Tim from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Join me every Friday at 4:20 during the Afternoon Underdogs. It's accurate, detailed content from local anglers, plus fishing updates on Saturday and Sunday morning right when you hit the water. Advice and stories from local anglers. Tune into the Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle Fishing Report, exclusively on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. Tonight there will be a brisk wind out of the north, partly cloudy skies and 39. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, about the same at 52. In the afternoon and evening, clear and a high of 57. A bit warmer at 64 Friday, and we'll have some sun most of the day except a slight chance of showers in the evening. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Mothers at 784-6601. 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
Your home for the College Football National Championship. WGSX Lynn Haven, WPLQ Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida. PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
He's so old, he buys his clothes at the same store he buys his groceries.
Are you wearing a grocery bag?
I talk sports in my underwear. I'm gonna wear nothing but a thong and a top hat.
Caveman Rick is part of the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back for hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. You are riding along with us in the doghouse, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick, and we appreciate you guys riding along with us this afternoon. You can give us a call at 850-215-6290, and on that same very number, you can text us, and we will read those out here. I did post earlier about for winners and losers in the NFL and college football, so we'll read off some of those comments here. From Nick Baldwin, his NFL winner, the 49ers, by clinching the number 1 seed, and his loser, the Philadelphia Eagles, falling to Arizona and the Cardinals, which is twice now. Obviously, this nowhere near the magnitude of the NLCS that the Philadelphia Phillies lost to the Arizona Diamondbacks, but it might sting just not more because it's not playoffs, but it's like, what in the world do the Eagles have any business doing losing to the Cardinals?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. I wasn't even thinking about that, but now you got me thinking, yeah, 2 Arizona teams. So it makes sense, but it wasn't in the playoffs, at least with the Cardinals. We're still on the roll. We can still, make something happen, but that was my loser of the weekend as well. So
Jeff says his winner, the Tennessee Vols, destroying Iowa 35-0, while Nico looks the part as the next great Tennessee quarterback, and his losers, Seminoles 63-3. The players need to show the world the committee got it wrong, but decided to tuck their tail and give up. Jeff's words, not mine. Barrett comments underneath him and says, bowl games mean nothing unless it's a playoff game. Jeff says, I like bowl games myself. Georgia seemed to show up as well. But you're right, they are losing their excitement. Barrett's NFL winner. How about Joe Flacco getting it done against a tough defense and his loser? NFL fans having to see great games ruined by poor ref calls. His college football winner, Penix. I think he just played himself into the first round, and his loser was Jalen Milroe's play in the playoff game. I agree with all 4 of those statements. And that's going to do it there for our comments. If you have a best and a worst, you can text those to us at 850-215-6290. We did have 3 more. Oh, no. We finished up our On This Day. What direction do we want to go next? How about CBS dropped a article where they've ranked the top 20 college football playoff semifinal games, all right? So we'll go over the top 10 real quick. Number 10, a few of these games are kind of blowouts, and we'll start it off with number 10. That's Ohio State 49, Clemson 28 back in 2020. And Wright State Chris referenced this earlier. I mean, Ohio State played 6 games and got into the college football playoff. The Big Ten that year, in my opinion, you decide, like the SEC said, hey, we're playing ball games. We're playing games. And then the Big Ten, we're going to play, and then they're not going to play, and then, we are going to play, and bouncing back and forth. In my opinion, that year, the Big Ten, it should have just been like, look, this is a wonky season or whatever, but 6 games just ain't going to cut it when everyone else is trying to play 8, 9, or 10.
They could have had their own playoff that year.
Yeah, exactly. Everything was being made up as we went, so might as well just done that. I love that statement, Caveman Rick. The Big Ten should have just had their own playoff and crowned a Big Ten champion from there. Number 9, back in 2018, Alabama beat Oklahoma 45-34. That was when they had Kyler Murray. Bama jumped out of that 21-point lead in the first quarter. And that was when the Tide had Damian Harris, and the Sooners just never able to bounce back from that huge deficit. In 2019, number 8, LSU taking down Oklahoma 63-28, so not a very good game there. The positive there was Joe Burrow taking down, what he throw for 493 yards?
It was a butt whooping, but it was arguably the best offense in college football.
Yeah, I don't think that. There's arguments to be made, like you said, arguably, but they were up there. There's no doubt about that. That was high flying. And another thing that I try to say every time I talk about that 2019 LSU team was, yes, the offense was beautiful, but the progression of that defense and where they started the year, how they started the year, and how they finished the year was maybe the most impressive thing to me. Obviously, Joe Burrow was the most impressive thing. That was impressive for that season. But then also Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a huge growth, specifically from like week 8 on. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CEH, really started to make a name for himself. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Clemson and Ohio State in 2019, where Clemson got the win there 29-23. Ohio State, this is a game where Ohio State really dominated Clemson in the game, much like that. Like, had Alabama beaten Michigan in the semifinal game the other day, the numbers don't lie. Michigan dominated Alabama. Ohio State in this game against Clemson dominated, but Clemson, the game of football, right? The game of football is not to run for more yards, it's to score more points, and that's exactly what Clemson did on that drive, the 94-yard drive that Trevor Lawrence had, connecting with Travis Etienne with 1:49 left. So that was one of the greater games. Number 6, Ohio State, Alabama, 2014. The emergence of Ezekiel Elliott, the original argument for why does it even matter if your starting quarterback is playing or not. Oh, you got a third-string quarterback. Now the difference is, and there's a stark contrast in the 2014 Ohio State Buckeyes and the 2023 Florida State Seminoles, right? And it's the championship game. If Ohio State beat Wisconsin that year 15-7 or whatever, who knows if they end up getting in. But the fact that they beat them 59-0, that was the difference. So it's like, obviously the offense hasn't really changed much. Whereas the committee got to see the Florida State offense for 2 weeks in a row, and it looked a little anemic. Does that change anything in my standpoint or from my perspective? No, still undefeated. You know what I mean? Still got the job done. And there's just, that's tough. But
Again,
yeah,
it's rankings, not standings. Rankings.
Yeah.
People need to just pound that into their skull, and if you got used to it, I guess it's not that big a deal.
no, it still is though. It still is a big deal for me. It would be different if it's different when it's Cincinnati. It's different when it's UCF. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I feel what you're saying, but that's one of my biggest hang-ups I have on the college football game opposed to the NFL is because there's those arguments. It's not cut and dry.
Yeah.
You aren't what your record says you are necessarily. And I just don't like the argument. I just if we're the best, it says it in our record right there. You got to beat us, got to knock us off.
Cardell Jones threw for 243 and a tutty in that game, and Zeke finished with 230 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns to go along with that. Number 5, one of my favorites last year, 2022, and in my opinion, it was case closed after watching just the first half of that game that Ohio State belonged in over Alabama, despite my thoughts on the whole process. But Georgia ended up getting the win 42-41. A lot of the Ohio State fans not happy about Marvin Harrison Jr. taking that hit there in the end zone and then losing the game. But Ohio State was still right there. They had the opportunity. All they needed to do was kick a field goal, and the field goal attempt was one of the worst that any of us has seen from Noah Ruggles. It was a 50-yard field goal try, and it went about as wide left as you possibly could. And it was right at the time that the clock struck midnight last year for New Year's in Atlanta. Number 4 was this game that we had between Texas and Washington. Washington gets the dub 37-31. I was watching this over at my brother's house. Something went wrong with our stream. Something went wonky with our stream with 31 seconds left, and I'm like, okay, well, the game's over anyways. So I didn't even see all of the drama that had ensued until I got back. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it was like one of those situations where I'm like, okay, yeah, no big deal. And then the next morning, I'm like, or later on that evening, I'm like, oh my gosh, that could we could have been talking about Texas winning that game, and I could have been acting like Washington have won it for the majority of the time. But yeah, heck of a game there, heck of a showing from Texas, and Sark had them boys playing, but Washington and Penix they've got their backs against the wall, and it's a fun thing to watch right now. Coming in at number 3, another game from last year, TCU and Michigan. TCU got the better of Michigan 51-45. And I think that we can all agree that that was the biggest upset in college football playoff history.
That was a great game, too.
Number 2, this year's Michigan and Alabama. Maybe because it goes to overtime, I guess they give it the edge over Texas
Recency
and Washington.
bias.
Well, no. I'm not making that argument, but they had Texas Washington sitting at 4. And if you were to ask my honest opinion on it, of the 2 games, that if you take the brands away from the teams, and it was just brand versus brand, I think the better football game was Washington and Texas. There's more points.
Yeah, fair to say.
Now, the only thing I guess that can give Michigan and Alabama the edge is A, the brands. Is Michigan and Alabama. 2, Rose Bowl, where they're playing it at is the Rose Bowl. And then 3, any game that goes to overtime is going to have a little bit of an edge over every other game.
Right. And then how Michigan Eddie was even saying the other day, or was it yesterday, I guess, that game should be being played in the Rose Bowl that's being played this Monday night. It'd be a lot more fitting with the 2 teams.
Oh, I agree with that. And I also think that I feel like I know that they're going to go on a rotation, but I would like to see the Rose Bowl, and I know people don't like this because the Rose Bowl is essentially one of the hangups in us getting to this 12-team college football playoff, but I would like to see the Rose Bowl be one of the bigger, either the semifinal or the championship every year. It's a beautiful setting, man. It's a beautiful setting. It's outdoors. I much like football aesthetically only. I would much rather watch football games that are outside than in domes. I don't get the attraction. of watching baseball inside.
And the attraction, I think, comes from people that have season tickets.
Yeah.
The people that are going all the time, and they want the comfort, and they don't want to have hassles and deal with being wet or cold or what have you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that they are the ones throwing down the majority of money a lot of times too for these tickets. So I kind of get where you're catering more to people like that than you are just your average fan that they don't care, man. Hey, I don't get to go to a game all the time. If it's raining, hey, it just adds to the experience. I got a story to tell or just whatever,
Well, I guess my question to you, though, is even if you don't have a preference, what would you rather? Would you rather a game be outside or indoors? It has nothing to do with what's actually happening on the field, but just the presentation that you're seeing as a viewing pleasure from
outside.
television.
Everything's supposed to be done outside, So yeah, outside all day long. A sport that's got to be played inside normally, like basketball. I can see, you do it inside, but something outside like baseball, football, it's got to be done outside.
Do you have any winners and losers?
I went over mine yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So it's good.
How'd you do that?
What are you talking about?
We had best and worst of the weekend, but that's different than winners and losers.
Okay, yes, because we did best and worst, I guess. Yeah.
All right, well, anyways, my winners and losers are going to be, in the winner side of thing on the NFL, it's going to be Lamar Jackson locking up the MVP with 5 touchdowns. Same thing as the best would be, but that's my winner from the NFL because it's already locked up. We're going into this last week of the regular season. It's going to be Huntley going. Lamar is going to be able to just kind of sit back and relax and watch his team play one last game before they go into the NFL playoffs, representing the AFC as the number 1 seed. My loser is going to be, now this is where we will go in the next segment, right? Because the NFL, via The Athletic, has came out and defended. They sent all 32 teams a little video explaining 2 different plays in that Lions and Cowboys game. Basically, the procedure of what it is to come in and report yourself eligible as an eligible receiver. So you have to not only verbally report, but you also have to physically report. And for those of you, if you were watching on Facebook, you saw Caveman Rick kind of use his right hand and go up and down on where his jersey number would be if he was wearing a jersey right now. And so that's one of the things. And there was an issue earlier in the game where Skipper came out and did that. He verbally reported to Brandon Allen or to Brad Allen or to one of the officials, and he also did the sliding with his right hand, showing his jersey number and reporting as eligible. Well, in that last sequence, you had Skipper kind of...
Decker, you mean?
No. You had Skipper kind of raising his hand or whatever, but never verbally reporting to the official, and you had Decker verbally reporting and physically reporting as well with his whole hand motion and all of that good stuff. But the NFL has came out, sided with the officials. They could have just came out and said, you know what, this was a big miscommunication. We're going to get it better next time. But instead they released a video after 2-3 weeks ago. They're blaming the players when the players, in my opinion, they shouldn't be blamed. They should be on the officiating crew.
It's supposed to be on the slide. That's the whole reason why it's called a trick play. And Dan Campbell, even reiterated, and some other people too, I've heard about how before the game you have a meeting with the refs. You explain to them the trick plays you're going to call so that they don't look like dopes, with their pants caught down around their ankles or whatever, because they don't know what's going on, because that's what would happen, because they wouldn't catch on to this. And partially because apparently number 70 had checked in a couple of times for some plays earlier in the game. So that's Brad Allen just being lazy, assuming, 70 did it a couple other times, so it must be him this time again. No, idiot, you got to listen to these players and stuff. That's the whole part of doing it like that. It's to throw somebody off.
And it's a double whammy, too, because, yes, right, like maybe Brad Allen was getting a little, getting lazy with that, or assuming in situations where he shouldn't be assuming. But one of the other things is the NFL came out and took away their privileges from officiating in the playoffs, and then 2 days and then 2 days later you want to stick up for them. Well, you don't take the playoffs away from them if they didn't do anything wrong.
Make them full-time employees, and you get them more training, do everything else so you can mitigate all this junk.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. You could, but seriously, Rick, if you were working as an NFL referee and your salary was $250,000, at that point, I'm probably considering that my full-time job.
Maybe so. These other guys, you hear some of the jobs some of these other guys have, it's something that actually requires some kind of dedication, some kind of time, some kind of skill, or what have you. So obviously, unless they're just mailing it in, or they have it all set up where they're basically like a CEO at their job, where they're not really doing anything other than just making sure business as usual happens, then I can kind of understand that. But yeah, just make them regular, like the umpires in baseball. That's what they do full time.
Yes.
You don't hear about them having another job.
Yeah.
If they get paid well enough, they don't need another job.
I guess we got off on a tangent, and I never finished the greatest college football playoff semifinal of all time. And it's obvious. Georgia and Oklahoma, 2017, the double overtime finish there. Georgia getting the win 54-48. Sony Michel having a heck of a game in that one, and that was the final game of Baker Mayfield's college career. He ended up finishing 0-2 in college football playoffs, but that was by far, bar none, the greatest college football game in the history of the college football playoff semifinals, and I would say the greatest game overall. I mean, you had some good Clemson-Alabama national championships, Georgia-Alabama in the national championship in that very year of 2017. But yeah, when it comes to
the brakes on that, though, I ain't been around long enough back in the day. I'm sure there was a lot of games that might have blown.
Were any of them semifinals?
Well, because the only college football playoffs only been around for a little while, though.
That's the whole
you just
point
said
of
like
this
the greatest
list.
game ever.
No, I said the greatest game ever in the college football playoff semifinals, and then I to even double back and prove that, I started talking about the national championships of the college football playoff. I could never sit here and say that any singular game is the best college football play or the best college football game of all time, because there's been less happen in my lifetime. There's been less games happen in my lifetime than have of all time.
What's funny too is that they're actually ranking these. I mean, the college football playoffs only been going on since
2014
or 13. I'll say 13, 14. So if you figure out 10 years, they did the top 20. They basically just ranked all of them.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
So they didn't do a top 20, they just ranked them.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
I get you.
We only went over the top 10.
I hear you, but like when you first came up, like bringing this up, it was the top 20 semifinal games. But if all you have is 20, you're ranking them. You don't have a top 20. Top 20 infers that you have like 100 games and you're picking the 20 best.
Okay, so
you know what I'm saying? They need to word
Okay,
it better.
so blame no, they
CBS.
don't need to. Okay, so here's the thing. Instead of me saying the top 20, I can appease Rick by saying the word all instead of the top 20.
Well, you said this is what CBS said. This is like
right,
their list,
and they
right?
said it is their list, and they say ranking all 20 college football playoff games. So you want to pick at that. You see what I'm saying? You want to pick at the little technical side of things, and that's
I
fine.
just figure come up like these guys are sitting here writing this. Come up with terminology that kind of suits it a little bit better.
They did. I just did it. I did them a disservice. I'll take the blame on that one.
All right.
And we're going to go to a break. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We only got one segment left, so if you'd like to, give us a call or text to 850-215-6290.
ESPN Northwest Florida is taking it to the hole. Your home for the most live college basketball in the Gulf Coast. The ACC, SEC, and the biggest games in the country. Plus the official station of March Madness.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
Hear every slam dunk in ultra-high fidelity right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. Tonight there will be a brisk wind out of the north, partly cloudy skies and 39. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, about the same at 52. In the afternoon and evening, clear and a high of 57. A bit warmer at 64 Friday, and we'll have some sun most of the day except a slight chance of showers in the evening. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents
The College Football National Championship.
Touchdown, Michigan!
It's Michigan versus Washington. Monday, January 8th.
Absolute thrilling finish.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Pro gun, pro flag, and pro Keisha.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
It is the final segment of the afternoon act. Let me correct that before Caveman Rick corrects me here. It is the final live.
Easy.
It is the final live segment of the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got a recording from, I believe, December 21st. We're going to play that local segment here, so we'll be out of here in about 15 minutes. Just want to remind you guys that the Coach James Hill Show will be live in the morning at 7 a.m., and that will be running until 9. Then the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley will be live at 11 a.m., running until 1 p.m., and then we'll be back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. It'll be me, James Fife, Drew Gorman. I believe Brian Haddad will be in the building with us.
Breaking out the red pen. Correcting.
Oh, yes. All right, so let me make sure that I get this correct here. Now, in that previous segment, we were not just talking about the top 20 college football playoff games of all time. We were talking about all 20 college football playoff semifinal games, and we were only talking about the top 10 at that point.
Just thinking about something. What do teachers use nowadays? Kids don't ever use, turning paperwork, so what? No red pen. What do they do, I wonder?
I guess
it's been a long time since I've been in school, so I don't know.
You know, I wonder if their jobs, and forgive me for this because I know that I'm wrong, but I was going to say, I wonder if their jobs have gotten easier because it's like, all right, so if they turn in a paper or whatever.
ChatGPT, baby.
Yeah, that's
like, hey, you didn't come up with this. This does not sound like a 9-year-old wrote this paper.
Oh, so it's actually made their jobs like 20 times more difficult.
Now they probably have to figure out, does this really sound like Mikey Jones? Or does this sound like, somebody else wrote this?
Like, my goodness, how good of a teacher am I? All these guys are just perfect.
Yeah,
it's like really deep insight there, young man. How did you know all of this about both world wars without reading anything?
That's why you're going to have to do it live in the classroom, I guess, and not send it home, because when you're getting it back from the house, who knows what you're getting.
Oh, my goodness. Right State Chris says the greatest national championship that I'm going to say ever is USC versus Texas. Vince Young, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. So my question to you, Caveman Rick, is, of the games that you remember, of like what college football national championship stands out the most to you?
I really don't have one, to be honest with you. But I mean, that was a good one, the Texas USC one. I remember that one. That's, had a lot of excitement in it. A lot of big star power, but a lot of those games do. But now, one's not really just jumping out at me, to be perfectly honest with you.
So for me, I'm going to say the one that stands out the most to me is 2009 when Alabama beat Texas, because, they won in 92 when I was a youngin', but I was 1 year old, so I have no recollection of that. And all I remember hearing about growing up is, how great Alabama was. And I'm sitting there watching with my dad, and I'm like, yeah, well, we ain't now, and then finally 18 years into my life, then the Tide roll over Greg McElroy, who ended up, man, why am I blanking on the backup, who ended up coming in for, he had a little bit of an NFL career for Colt McCoy, but Marcel Darius knocked him out, and Tide ended up getting that first national championship. I think my other one is going to be, obviously the Texas USC game stands out pretty substantially to me. The other one, my brother, I don't know how this really, I do know how it happened, but he's a Georgia fan, and how it happened was because back in the day when I would play Madden with him, he would use Brett Favre. He loved Brett Favre, and he was a Green Bay Packers fan. So then when we would play college football, he would use Georgia because of the Green Bay G. The logo was the same. So I think my other one, as crazy as this is going to sound from a Tide fan, when Georgia got their first one, it meant something to me because, for my brother, you know what I mean? Because how many times have we watched Georgia and Alabama games, and every single time Bama got the better of them, and you just kind of feel bad. It's like eventually you guys are going to get one, and then for them to get the win and to get the national championship, I loved that for Georgia.
I don't know if you know off the top of your hand. I think maybe this is true, but didn't Georgia come up with the G logo and not Green Bay?
I would imagine so.
I want to say it was Georgia, and then Green Bay kind of stole it and like changed the colors. But when I look at it, I don't see the G since I've been kind of shown something quite a while ago. But if you look at it at a different point of view, it looks like the head of somebody with a really long nose, like Pinocchio, like with their mouth open really big, like ah.
Actually, so the Georgia G didn't start wearing that till 1964. They didn't wear the Georgia G. Yeah,
okay.
And actually that was Vince Dooley who proposed the idea of putting the G on the school's helmet. So actually then, yeah, the
Are you
Packers.
looking at the G?
What's that?
Are you looking at the logo?
Not right now. Why?
I was just going to say, you see what I'm talking about, though? If you look at it like from the inside and not the G, it looks like a head with a big nose, like Pinocchio with his mouth open.
No, I do need to notice. I do need to look at that. But yeah, so the Packers have been wearing yellow jerseys, not navy blue, in 1929. Apparently, the Packers have been wearing the G for a while.
That's cool. Well, I guess maybe they came up with it. I don't know. I thought I heard somewhere, so I just wanted to see if maybe you knew.
Yeah, no, I did not know that. But interesting, though. Definitely some interesting stuff. And that's how my brother became a Georgia fan. Basically, he was a Brett Favre fan, and because of that, because of the logo that Brett Favre wore on his helmet, that is how he ended up being a Georgia Bulldog fan. I love stories like that, man. I would love to take 2 hours one day and folks just call in and tell us how they became a fan of their teams. Like NBA, I'm pretty much, for me, I'm the same, whatever fan or whatever teams my dad was a fan of, I'm pretty much a fan of those same teams outside of the NBA, because he's like a Rockets and a Lakers fan at that point in time because of Dikembe Mutombo and, or not Dikembe Mutombo, Hakeem Olajuwon is why he liked the Rockets, and I don't remember why it was that he liked the Lakers, maybe Magic, not entirely sure. Maybe Kareem. I don't know. But so I didn't follow in those footsteps. I was born in Indiana, in Crown Point, Indiana. I only lived there for 9 months, but when we were living down here in St. Pete, our next door neighbor, Heath Dittman, they were from Indiana, and he was a Pacers fan. And like, we go up into his room, he's got all of this Pacers stuff, and I'm like, well, I was born in Indiana. Like, and I already liked Reggie Miller, so I just kind of took on, I was 6 or 7 at the point in time, so I just took on the Pacers as my favorite team, and that's the only one that's got a cool story outside of the Lightning, because I never liked hockey, and then when my dad took us to a game, it was on and popping. I mean, that night, I think we got like one of those souvenir street hockey pucks. It wasn't like a real hockey puck, but it was a street hockey puck. And the next night, we've got daggum milk crates out in the yard finding some plastic hockey sticks, and next thing you know, weeks later, we've got all the kids in the neighborhood with rollerblades. We've got wheelbarrows laid down in our concrete driveway on their side, and we're playing hockey.
Right on. For me, I mean, a lot simpler. I mean, teams that my grandfather, my pop-up liked, and regional. I think that's how a lot of people are. I mean, I grew up outside of Philadelphia, so of course, what teams are I like? You know, Philadelphia-type teams. So unless you're like in an area where you have a couple of metropolitan areas that are really close, then you might have like some different allegiances. But I think for the most part, it's just like, you know, what you're close to, what you grow up around.
That is a good point. Speaking of allegiances, I saw this earlier. J.J. McCarthy, quarterback for Michigan, right? He says that they had that the team, Michigan, needed to make it an even playing field versus Ohio State in that sign stealing scandal. Now, I think McCarthy said teams in college football, about 80% of teams in college football are stealing signs. I would not disagree with that number. I would be surprised if that number wasn't a little bit higher. But they said that in Ohio State in 2019 and 2020 were doing these things to them, and so they had to elevate their game to be on the same playing field with them. How do you feel about that, Caveman Rick?
I mean, cheating's still cheating. They didn't get caught. You guys did. It's the same thing, like, you know, with the New England Patriots. I know a lot of people say people were doing this, people were doing that, but hey, you guys are the ones that got caught. It's real easy to say other people are doing it when you're the one caught red-handed. So, yeah, I don't like them saying that. I mean, there might be some truth to that, but has it been proven? I haven't seen or heard anything yet.
Yeah.
It may come out when we hear all the rest of the, the Michigan stuff after Harbaugh leaves, and they actually do their investigation. In a couple years from now, they actually get some probably wins taken away, and obviously probably won't get the national championship vacated. But I mean, that's nor here nor there.
Well, how about Stallions was at the game? He was at the Rose Bowl game.
Yeah, did he have to buy his own ticket?
I don't know if he bought it himself, but I do know that his head was bald and he had shaved his beard, so I guess maybe he was trying to...
Incognito.
Yeah, be a little incognito. I don't know what kind of help. I mean, I didn't see...
Like Bobby Valentine putting on the mustache so he can climb back into the dugout.
There was nothing that I saw in that Alabama game that would have led me to believe, like, their sign stealing was an advantage over Alabama. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, they played sloppy, and I mean, they barely won.
Yeah.
Too. So, I mean, you think if there was sign stealing, they would have beat them, like, by a lot more?
Yeah. I mean, they definitely gave Jalen Milroe a lot of trouble, but I think one of the issues with Milroe was, take it and put it like the Atlanta Braves. Okay? And what I mean by that is Jalen Milroe kind of got hot, right? And was playing really good football, but that month off just did him no favors. It did him no favors at all, and he just wasn't the same guy. And I think the reality of that is he's not as good of a quarterback as what we all made him out to be, and that's fine. That's fine. He's got another year for progression. He definitely progressed. He definitely got better. But that I think that lack of football time caught up with him.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, obviously didn't to Michigan, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's an indictment, I guess, on him or on Saban or just the program.
No, it would be and it's not an indictment. I think it's a reality of that Jalen Milroe was playing better than what his ceiling is, if that makes sense.
I feel you.
Yeah, they were just playing really good football at the time. And that's not an excuse. And in all reality, the truth of the matter could be Michigan's defense made Jalen Milroe look that way.
Hey, real quick, we got somebody calling in, but, dude, we're about to dip out in a few moments, so we can't take the call, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, we'll get to them tomorrow. You can give us a call at 850-215-6290 tomorrow at 4 p.m. riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs. And Bernie Williams, former Yankees center fielder, Bernie Williams going to be making his New York Philharmonic debut. That is going to be April 24th. I had no idea about this. Future music director Gustavo Dudamel leads the orchestra's spring gala at Lincoln Center's David Geffen Hall. Williams is 55. He was a five-time All-Star playing for the Yankees from 91 to 2006. He won the batting title for the American League in 1998, and he is a classically trained guitarist. He began playing at the age of 7. He's released 2 recordings, one in 2003 and one in 2009. He also performed around the world and released a book about the marriage of music and sports. The book, Bernie says he bared his soul in, is called Rhythms of the Game. So how about that? Who in the world would have expected Bernie Williams going to be making his orchestral debut?
I wonder what chair he is. They have I don't know how many chairs in the orchestra, but when you're first chair, that's like you're the best one in the orchestra playing that instrument. Obviously, it's his first time doing it, so I don't think maybe he's the first chair, but I'd be kind of curious to see where he's at, where he ranks, if you will.
Yeah. I'm trying to look that up, but I don't know.
Probably hard to find very quick.
Yeah, it would be. Especially, I'm not entirely sure
how you search it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I didn't even bother.
Exactly.
Just something that popped in my head in the last 20 seconds.
Brock Bowers is going to be entering the NFL draft. No surprise there.
Top 6, top 8 pick, gotta be.
I mean, the Titans are going to be up in that area. I don't think that is conducive for the Titans to do anything other than work on the trenches. I don't know if now Brock Bowers is a guy who moves the needle, but do we need that needle to be moved yet?
No, probably not with you guys. You guys need some other help. But I mean, outside of quarterbacks, for skill position players, I'd see him going, ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr.
Ooh, ahead of.
Probably, I mean, if you want a really dynamic player, I mean, wide receivers, I don't want to say they grow on trees out there, but finding a really dynamic tight end. Look in the NFL right now. You only have about 4 or 5, 6 guys, maybe tops, that you could say are at the top of their game, and the rest after that, there's a big drop-off after Kelsey, Goddard, and Mark Andrews, Laporta now, Hawkinson, just to name a few. But I mean, Kittle. Yeah. After that, who else? Is really top.
Isaiah Likely is going to be that next guy, though.
But
and if
Andrews comes back.
No, I know, but Isaiah, I'm telling you, I'm saying, Isaiah Likely is a guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
He is likely going to be a number 1 somewhere else if Baltimore lets him go. Yeah, we only have 1 minute left, so I did want to. There's been a fire at Tyreek Hill's house. His family is safe. He was at practice, but he ended up leaving practice, going and checking on everything. Family is out of the the house. Everything is safe, but his house was on fire.
Hopefully his girlfriend didn't cause it, like Andre Rison, who when he played for the Atlanta Falcons, thanks to, what's her name, Left Eye from TLC.
Yeah, I remember old school telling me about that a time or two, but that is going to do it for us this afternoon. Again, the Coach James Hale Show is going to be live at 7 in the morning. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley is going to be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're going to be right back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon. Just remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I.
Mornings on ESPN Northwest Florida just got unsportsmanlike.
Holiday cards, when you get somebody that sends you a holiday card, all they want you to do is then respond to them